In the year 1938, in the deep and silent interior of Minas, there was a small village called Veldas. The low white type of houses shone in the afternoon sun. The yards were swept every morning with piakava brooms, and the gentle wind brought the sweet perfume of the acacias, mixed with the smell of roasted coffee and cornbread baking in the wood stove. Life there flowed gently, following the rhythm of the seasons. Time to plant, time to weed, time to harvest. Maria das Dores had just turned 19, only daughter of Mr. Inácio and Mrs. Gertrudes. She was a young woman of serene and discreet beauty. Her dark brown eyes seemed to hold the depth of the fertile earth after the rain. She had long hair, almost always braided with simple ribbons, and delicate hands that knew how to do everything. Embroider pillowcases with tiny stitches, knead bread with care, tend to the rose bushes in the backyard, and soothe her nephews when they cried. Dores was quiet, observant, and had a sensitive heart. She secretly dreamed of a simple home, full of children's laughter, an honest husband, and a life built with patience and respect. Pedro, at 24 years old, was the son of Mr. Ramiro, a serious and hard-working widower who raised the boy with rigor and little display of affection. Tall, tanned by the relentless sun, with strong arms from clearing brush. Since he was 12, Pedro carried in his gaze a tenderness that few noticed. In the back of an old notebook, hidden behind the tools, he wrote short thoughts about the beauty of dawn, the singing of birds, and the desire to one day form a family based on true love. He worked with dedication on his father's farm, dreaming of planting new coffee, building a house with a wide veranda and running wooden floors. The two met for the first time at the traditional June festival in the village. It was a hot afternoon. The square was decorated with colorful little flags, the smell of popcorn and homemade sweets. Dores helped at the women's stall, serving cornmeal cake, strained coffee, and dulce de leche. Pedro, along with other young men, carried firewood and set up the tables. When he approached to get a piece of cake, their eyes met for a long second. Their fingers touched lightly as she handed him the plate. Dores felt her face burn with a shy blush. Pedro felt his heart beat stronger. From that day on, love began to grow slowly, like a seed sown in well-prepared soil. On Sundays after Mass, they began to see each other on the red dirt road that connected the two properties, always accompanied by her mother or an older aunt, according to the old customs. They walked slowly, talking in low voices. Pedro spoke of his plans to improve the farm, to fence the pasture with new wire, and one day to have an orchard with orange and jabuticaba trees. Dores told him about her taste for planting flowers, how she cared for the chickens and little pigs, and her desire to teach their future children to love honest work. There was a special delicacy in every meeting. He never touched her beyond a respectful greeting. She never lowered her eyes for long. They exchanged their first letters, written by the light of the kerosene lamp. Simple letters, full of hope and promises of fidelity. Their love was pure, deep, and passionate in a serene way. Made of long glances, contained smiles, and the sincere desire to build something that would last a lifetime. It was not a fire that consumes, but an ember that warms slowly with strength and constancy. The year 1940 came, a year that the people of Vale das Ocaisas would never forget. The drought arrived without mercy. The sky donned a cruel blue, without a single cloud. The stream that wound between the fields dwindled day by day until it became only a thread of muddy water. The corn dried on the stalk. The beans did not grow. The cattle grew so thin that it was pitiful to see the bones marked under the skin. Hunger began to prowl the doors of the simple houses. Mr. Ramiro, desperate with the accumulating debts, made a painful agreement with the colonel of the larger lands. He promised his son's hand in marriage to the colonel's niece, a young woman of good standing who would bring enough dowry to save the property. It was a marriage without love, only of convenience and survival. When Pedro learned of the news, he felt as if the earth opened beneath his feet. He spent several sleepless nights walking alone in the yard. He did not want to disobey his father, nor see his younger siblings go hungry. But he also could not imagine a life without Maria das Dores. The news reached Dora's ears like a silent and deep blow. She was in the backyard, watering the rose bushes that struggled to survive the drought. When her mother told her, the girl dropped the watering can and ran to the back room. "There, hugging the straw pillow," she cried in silence. Mrs. Gertrudes entered slowly, sat beside her daughter, and wrapped her in a long, warm embrace. "Daughter, life sometimes asks us for great sacrifices. True love is not only joy, it is proven in pain and in waiting. Cry now, but do not let bitterness enter your heart." Dores did not make a scene. With her hands still trembling, she lit the kerosene lamp and wrote a letter. "My dear Pedro, if duty to your family and your father's honor require you to follow another path, I respect it with all my heart. I do not want to be the cause of suffering for yours. I will wait with patience and with hope, because the love I feel is not selfish. It is the sincere desire for your well-being, even if it hurts me." Pedro received the letter, read and reread it several times, with tears running down his sunburned face. That same night, he confronted his father in the simple room. "Father, I have respected you my whole life. I have worked since I was a boy without complaining, but I cannot marry without love in my chest. I prefer to leave home, work far Hawaii, and send all the money to pay the debts, rather than betray my conscience and the girl who taught me what it is to truly love." Mr. Ramiro remained silent for a long time. For the first time in many years, the hard man let tears fall. With a choked voice, he replied, "Then we will fight together. My son, I will not destroy your happiness because of land." There were months of great hardship. Pedro traveled to work on distant farms, sending every penny home. Dores helped her father in the vegetable garden, sewed clothes for others, took care of the chickens, and remained firm. The longing was great, but the hope was greater. Every letter that arrived was read and kept as a treasure. The weight matured them. When the first generous rains returned in 1941, the land responded with life. Pedro returned thinner, more if a man, with even more calloused hands and a heart overflowing. He went straight to Dora's house. He brought only a bouquet of wildflowers picked along the way. Mr. Inacio and Mrs. Gertrude, seeing the young man's sincerity and the love that had resisted the drought, gave their blessing. The wedding was simple and beautiful. At the village festival, Dores entered in a white dress sewn by herself, with an old lace veil. Pedro waited for her, emotional. There was corn cake, canjica, violas, and many people celebrating. They lived many long years together. They had 4 children. They built a solid house, planted coffee and white rose bushes in the backyard. There were difficulties, mild illnesses, years of little rain, natural losses of life, but love was always greater. When one grew tired, the other encouraged. When one fell ill, the other cared with affection. Mutual respect and daily tenderness were the foundation of everything. When they were already old, sitting on the veranda. At dusk, Pedro held Dora's wrinkled hand and whispered, "The greatest harvest of my life was not the coffee or the corn. It was you, Dores. You taught me that a true man is one who chooses love every day." She smiled, rested her head on his shoulder, and replied, "And I learned from you that true love is not what burns quickly, but what warms for a lifetime." This old story from Vale das Acacias reminds us that the most beautiful love does not need great invented dramas. It is born in the delicacy of respect, grows in the strength of fidelity, and strengthens itself in the trials of real life. If you liked this story, you can leave your like, share it, and comment which story you want to hear next.